Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. In today's episode of Hanging with the Herd, right now the herd isn't really hanging with us, they're hanging at the barn. Thought we'd talk about different and alternative power sources. As many of you know, I have solar power just by one panel. So solar power running our pond aeration. We didn't want to run electricity out there for multiple reasons, but of course the most being, trying to utilize what nature gives us, right? So solar made sense in that area. A lot of people have asked me why, if I have solar on the house or on the barn, and the answer right now is no, I do not. And frankly, I'm not sure that solar is the right way to go. We do get a ton of sun in the summer. In the winter, it's not so much. Solar panels are expensive. They require maintenance. And a lot of the companies are, less than reputable right now. I hate to say it, but, there's been a lot of stories in the news about companies going bankrupt and leaving people stuck with these panels that they've paid for that now don't work and they're not getting the benefit of. I'm not ready to take that leap, quite frankly. But at our previous farm version 1.0, we did experiment with, and were quite successful with, wind power. So we actually erected a windmill. It was not gigantic, of course, but it was large. So it was, if I recall correctly, a 30-foot windmill. So that is, it's tall. And it wasn't, it wasn't an eyesore per se, but it was certainly something new to the area. And we used that windmill to drive our pond aeration, to drive our solar fencing. No, solar fencing was silly me. To drive our electric fencing. We tried solar fencing. It did not work out for us. So we used it to run our electric fencing. It certainly was a single windmill, so it wasn't generating enough to run a house or, an outbuilding or anything, but it was enough to run a few things. And so, at some point we're going to explore, more wind generation, more alternative energy sources for the farm. But that's really, wind is probably what we're thinking right now, right? And we've had quite a bit of wind lately. Our biggest issue on this particular property is the amount of tree cover that we have. Of course, we don't want to remove any of the trees, so we have to really balance, where can we put windmills? How much line would we have to run from a location where they'll get the wind to get the power where it needs to go? So a lot of balancing, and that's just not something that's been on the project list yet. I'm actually surprised the herd hasn't moved to see us, so I guess I better move to see them. Otherwise, this is the most boring video ever. But I thought I'd tell a quick tale about nothing I tell is quick, I guess, but I thought I'd tell a tale about our first windmill. So when we decided to put the windmill up, of course, we chatted with the neighbors first to let them know what was happening. Everybody was bought in, right? We didn't want to put up a windmill of that size without checking in, discussing it, having the opportunity for anybody to say, listen, I don't want that, right? So everybody was bought in. We were all good. We get the windmill, and of course, it needs to be put together. Not a problem. It's nuts, bolts, etc. Farm hubby went so far as to paint the blades with stripes so that they would be cool when they were spinning. We were all super excited to get it erected. It's hinged, right? So one of the things you have to know about a windmill is you do have to maintain them. There is a mechanism inside the windmill that happens to be at the top where the blades are, and that's what drives the power generation. So it needs regular maintenance, and certainly you're not going to climb up a 30-foot windmill. So it's hinged at the bottom so you can drop it, right? You can essentially winch it down to the ground, maintenance it, and then winch it back up. So it was built. We put the cement pillars in the ground, right, for the footers. Got ready to winch it up, winched it up. Everything was perfect. It started to spin. Everything started to generate. Life was good. What you don't know from a background perspective is that there was a behind the scenes debate. I'll say debate because that's the more polite term, but frankly, it was an argument. between Farm Hubby and I, right? He wanted input as to where to locate the windmill. And I personally, I don't care, right? Like, I just wanted it in a place that it was going to do its job. It didn't really matter to me where it was. And I kept telling him that, but he kept asking for input. Where do you want it? Where do you want it? Oh, okay, fine. So I like randomly selected a spot. And he told me that that spot was no good. Okay, fine. Put it where you want it, because I really don't care. But true to form, right? You have to give me input. I need to know where this is going to go. Okay, fine. I selected another spot. And once again, that spot was unacceptable. So I just couldn't win. But ultimately, we did end up erecting it in one of the spots that I selected. And I'm serious when I say I just randomly pointed at a spot, because I really didn't do any like look around for the trees or how the wind patterns blow or anything else. I didn't really care, and it wasn't something I was interested in making an effort for. And so I just said, here. Well, as it turns out, that wasn't the best idea. Right. So after this was erected and it was running for a few weeks, we had a pretty big storm blow through, and the big storm took down our windmill. Crash, bang, boom. And there it was on the ground in a mangled heap. Yeah. Boy, that was not a fun conversation to have, especially since I was the first person to get home for the day and find it, and had to call them and say, sorry, this thing you really like and you're so excited about is now on the ground in a mangled heap of mess. I can laugh now. It was, kind of devastating. Thankfully, nothing was broken in the mechanisms. Some of the metal was bent, some of the blades were bent, some of the paint was chipped, right? So it was kind of, unfortunate that it didn't look shiny new anymore, but we were able to reshape everything, get everything back in place. And of course, then that required digging out the cement footers that we had put in, reestablishing them in a place that Farm Hubby thought would be better, and should have really put initially. And that was where the argument came in, is he wanted it there but wanted my opinion. And when I said that was fine, he said, no, pick another spot. I don't know. It was one of those husband-wife debates, right? That never works out well. So anyway, once the windmill was back up in place 2, it did stay in perfect working condition, did everything it needed to do for the next 6 years. So at the end of the day, it was absolutely worth it. But as with every DIY project, it turned out to be much more effort than anticipated, and we probably could have done without the first lesson learned. But here we are. And by the way, we did end up naming that windmill for whatever reason. We named it Dorothy. Actually, our neighbor named it Dorothy, and of course, Wizard of Oz kickback or throwback. So Dorothy the windmill ran consistently for the entire time that we were there on farm version 1.0. Last I checked, it is still there and still running and doing its job with the new owners. And so that's exciting. Yeah, we didn't take it with us. Moving it once was enough. So that's why we're, still leaning toward wind. We need to, truly assess it, and we know the amount of effort that it takes to put it up and to select a location. So, it's been a slow roll to get to that project, but we'll get there eventually. Anyway, that's a really long and boring hanging with the herd in terms of our energy sources and what we use and why we use it and where we're thinking. I hope you are having a fabulous day wherever you are in the world. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will talk to you soon. Bye for now.